So in the previous video, I kind of gave some gyan on life and universe and all that stuff. So in this video, I just want to put out some open questions which really baffle me, and I feel no one is trying to investigate on those specific uh, topics, subjects, to find answers to those questions. So let me explain those questions one by one. First question. So the trees, they, what we hear usually from the scientific community and what usually gets taught to the children is trees, they create fruits to attract animals who come to the trees in the hope of getting delicious nutrient or calorie or sugar rich fruits, and in turn they take away the seeds within the fruits, and as they defecate or throw those seeds somewhere else on the planet, the trees can propagate uh, in the form of seeds as seeds grow up into the trees and so on. But the question is, how do the trees know, trees which are supposed to be visionless and maybe even they cannot hear and so cannot sense, maybe they sense, but at least for sure they do not understand what is the food of those animals, what is the digestive system of those animals, how can they create nutrient rich or calorie rich or sugar rich fruit with a seed, such in such a way that animals consume only those aspects and not the seed. I mean, how are the trees so sure that animals or their digestive systems cannot digest those seeds, or they wouldn't want those seeds? Of course, in some cases, animals and human beings, they do consume seeds, but largely they get thrown away or they get out in the undigested from the system. So how do trees figure out what is a nutrient for other animals which would attract them? Was that just a trial and error where they kept trying, creating something to attract animals, and as and when they got a feedback that more and more fruits are getting plucked, that means it is of nutritional value. But it's really I don't know then how they survived for such a long time till that evolution took place, right? So this is one which really baffles me. How do they know about digestive power, or what is the nutrient, what kind of bodies animals have, what is their digestive system, what is the nutrient for them, and how do they figure out and get that extracted from the land and create it in the form of a fruit? So this is one question. Question number two, as with the fruits, pretty similar with flowers. Now with flowers, they also have or create flowers to attract birds and insects so that they can come and carry those pollen and all that to the other part of the planet so that they can propagate their species. But the question is, trees which are supposed to be blind, how do they know about colors? How can they create flowers of different colors to attract specific birds and insects? How do the trees know that animals or birds or insects, they have eyes, and those eyes can recognize colors, and for that I need to create a flower with some specific colors so that they would come and get those pollen and all that stuff to the other parts of the world? It's really baffling to me. I cannot fathom how a species which doesn't supposedly have eyes can fathom the concept of colors, and even create a sort of a weapon of reproduction uh, to lure animals, birds, insects to them for propagation. So that is number two, question number two, which really baffles me. Question number three. So all species, as we hear from the scientific stories and from the school textbooks and all the knowledge of the humankind so far, that all species have evolved from a singular cell. So from singular cell to multi-cell organism, and then some other species and mammals, then human beings, and so on. But from a single cell organism, how do you figure out maybe uh, to have eyes or ears? It took maybe millions of years of evolution, but still at some point it's again from non-life to life kind of a thing. How do you go from being completely blind and deaf to being able to see? I mean, even if the vision is blurred in the beginning, very highly blurred, and you are not able to make out what is going on, still from 100% blind and deaf to uh, actually be able to see something. I mean, once you have a blurred vision, at least you can evolve further and try to optimize that vision and hearing ability. But uh, how do you figure out what kind of noise or voices other animals, other beings have, at what frequency, and how do you adjust your hearing frequency to that specific uh, frequency and develop your hearing and, I mean, eyes? To develop an organ like eye, you need to understand the physics behind light. How do you figure that thing out? I mean, if you study the biological details of the eye, it's it's like it's not very straightforward. Like we don't see the things there. Are. The light comes in, it refracts, and so on. Such a complicated mechanism we have built. So it's really puzzling how you go from completely being completely blind and deaf to being able to see and hear at a frequency which other animals are making voices. Why all the animals, or most of the animals, or maybe 99% of the animals, except for maybe insects and some other species, they operate in a specific band of frequency where we align our hearing. So that is a bit mystery to me. And like, what was the need? Like, if all the organisms, species uh, must be initially blind and deaf, so what was the need? Because without need, uh, and any species or organism wouldn't be pushed to develop an eye. So what was the need to develop an eye? Uh, maybe, yeah, I don't know. So that is another mystery. Okay, number four. This is about gut microbiome. So I am sure everyone has heard that gut plays a very vital, important role, not only in digestion, but it pretty much acts as a second brain with so much of neurons and all that stuff that lies in there. But the thing about digestion is it is almost uh, processed by microbiome, which is trillions of bacteria, which are not you actually, which is another species residing, or pretty much a good parasite residing in your body. So how come? And it's not only about humans; it's also about mostly all the animals. So how come animals outsourced kind of a digestion, such a critical function of your survival, to a totally random third party? Uh, these uh, trillions of bacteria. It doesn't make sense. Uh, so that is really another mystery for me. Okay, next question. So the we are usually told that all the planets they go around the sun because of gravitational force. Even the moon goes around Earth because of gravitational force. But the gravity on planet Earth, like if you are jumping from a high rise building, Earth is not going to make you go revolve like a satellite. So even though we have satellites, man-made objects, which again uh, revolve around planet Earth and they do not fall onto the Earth. So what is that distinction between a gravitational force which attracts you towards itself and which makes you go round and round? So what keeps that balance? Is there other force also, like in case of satellites at least, because they are given a motion of a circular motion, uh, so it is always tangentially kind of going around the planet. But who launched Earth or all the planets then, if they are just at random getting rotating around the sun? It doesn't make sense that it's because of the sun's gravitational force, because equal and opposite other force must be acting on those planets. Otherwise, they would just get swallowed by sun because sun would attract them. So how come, uh, unless being given a tangential motion in the beginning, how come planets keep rotating without getting pulled up by the sun and all other stars? Number six. So this is the most baffling one, maybe. So human beings say live around 80 to 100 years, and human babies, which are the slowest of all the animals, they take their first step at around say 1 year, and then they need very closely guarded upbringing for at least 10 years, but properly till 17, 18 years, till the time they become adult. So what is it that extends the upbringing span of an offspring? Because elephants at around the same longevity as humans, 80 to 100 years, but baby elephant, and as soon as it is born, it can walk on its legs and it can start roaming around with its mother. So what is the distinction? The longevity span is the same, but why is it that human beings, I mean, I'm not even talking about intellectually, it's just about biological, physical thing. Even physically, the human baby is not so independent for such a long period of time. I mean, unless the DNA or at the very root level of our species, human beings, there is an understanding or some feedback loop which tells them that, see, the life, even though volatile, it's pretty much going to be pretty long. So you can invest a lot of time. The adults can invest a lot of time in upbringing of their babies, so the growth can be slow. What makes that? What if tomorrow, if the human lifespan shrinks, say it comes to around 30, 40 years because of wars or pandemics and all that stuff, would babies start walking pretty soon, say 1 month, 2 months, 3 months? Like, what is the factor that decides it? It's it's totally I see no answer to this question. What if you can say, if for certain animals which have lower or shorter lifespan, it makes sense for their babies to start growing faster and start being independent faster. But what explains this huge difference of growth between elephants and human beings? That is another question. And last one. So it seems like human beings are somehow disconnected with the universe or nature because a lot of knowledge needs to be fed. So nothing comes naturally to human beings, it looks like. So they come pretty much as a blank slate, and everyone needs to teach their offspring from zero. Like their natural instincts are so horrible, but it's not the case with animals. So I'm not sure, especially if you see those migratory birds or animals, even fish. I mean, whales and all, they can travel thousands of kilometers within the deep ocean. I mean, if for birds, maybe they follow some sense of direction based on, I don't know, maybe stars or some other signs of the geography. But for whales and other fish, which just have to be inside the ocean, I don't know how do they figure out the direction and kind of migrate to such long distances. And it's not just about migration, but a lot of what we call as animal instincts, what to eat, what not to eat. I mean, a human being would always be confused, but not the lion cub or tiger cub or even a dog for that matter, or even a cow calf for that matter. So it looks like they come, the animals come pre-programmed with say maybe 80%, and the rest 20% needs to be taught by their parents. But in case of human beings, the slate is almost like maybe 10% because they know some pre-programmed stuff I can see is like the sexual attraction and craving for some specific food and all. But otherwise, it's pretty much a blank slate. So what is this difference? Is it by uh, evolution and choice of the DNA, or is it how it was uh, designed? I don't know. So these are some open questions. If you have any answers, please do let me know. Thank you.